We all watched a much more uplifting documentary, and this was called Sly, a profile of Sylvester Stallone that appeared on Netflix.
I told Sly that we were going to do this, so he's very aware of what we're doing.
It seems like it was in the style of, there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger series, and that was quite popular. People really liked. And so they went on and made a Sly Stallone one. And, I'm a lifelong fan of the guy. Like, since I was very little, I loved the Rocky movies, and I saw the Rambo movies too young. First Blood in particular is like one of my favorite movies. It's like a top 20. Right. Yeah. So we all saw this, and, I don't know that it told me too much about Sylvester Stallone that I didn't know before, but I thought it was really well put together. And I just like listening to Sly talk about life. I mean, that's the key to his content.
That's what I liked about the character. He just somehow always kept it inside. He never shared his grief or his disappointment with anyone, just himself. I have a funny feeling that there's millions of people that have that same frustration, that were passed over, overlooked.
Oh, look at that! I think he's a really beautiful artist. I think like he has a, kind of like, like James Cameron is really talented at he knows about the human condition. That's why everybody goes out and sees his movies. He understands humans. I think Sly is like that too. He has a way of describing something that everybody already knows in a way that they need to hear a second or third time. Like he said, he was just talking off the cuff, but he said something about like, we all start off as soft clay, and then our parents or whoever get their hands, into that soft clay, and it hardens in those places that they put their fingers forever. And it was like, it's kind of like an obvious statement. What a beautiful way to describe it,
Basically, when we're born, we're soft clay, and a heavy-handed sculptor starts to put dents in it, and that's in our mold. That's what we are, and you just can't correct those distortions.
Yeah, and obviously, you're talking, his relationship with his father is crazy. I just listening to him, pontificate, while he's like, I don't know, like moving out of his house. I could watch that forever. I was like, could you just keep doing this? Can you just like keep talking forever about like objects in your house, please?
Yeah, surrounded by his beautiful art collection. I was like, oh, I didn't know this side of him. Just every wall is covered with some masterpiece art.
Yeah. The guy's got a few bucks. He's moving he was moving to Palm Beach, Florida. He must be there by now. Yeah, apparently he was kind of beat up by his dad, like physically. And his dad continued to be really kind of rough on him, even through fame.
Yeah, it was like they had a polo match, and his dad like stabbed him in the back with a mallet.
And I was like really moved, like to tears towards the end when he was like, my dad, basically on his deathbed, like on the brink, was like, hey, you should learn to forgive and forget. and Sly is like, really? Like, could this have occurred to you 30 years ago? Like,
he goes, Sly. I go, yeah, Dad. He goes, you should learn to love and forgive people. I said, really? That just come to you now as a fucking angel they're about to whisper in your ear?
I love the man so much, or at least what he presents to the world. I think I think his movies are the stuff movies are made of. Like when a movie is at its best, Sly has shown us the best that art form can offer. And actually, one of the things that I loved about the doc is short. It's like 90 minutes. It details most of his major films that came out. And for all of the notable ones, it kind of profiled a scene from them, some crystalline, a moment from that movie that was impactful. And Tarantino was interviewed and had a lot of really good insights. Like it was really cool to listen to Tarantino be like, well, I was this huge fan of all 70s cinema, and I saw Sly in this Lords of Flatbush movie as one of the kind of minor characters. And then I suddenly heard about this Rocky movie that was changing cinema, and
being compared to Marlon Brando.
Brando. And I was like, the guy from Lords of Flatbush,
Then I finally see a TV spot. Stanley from Lords of Flatbush is Sylvester Stallone? He's the greatest actor to come out since Robert De Niro and Marlon Brando? Wow, okay.
It's true. It's like that's one of the most compelling things about Sly is like he's such not only an unlikely actor to become, huge in the way he is, but also like a really unlikely director and writer. I mean, this guy, like the 1970s, we're talking about Scorsese and De Palma, and I mean, like the juggernauts of cinema. And along comes like a writer in his apartment who's like, let me do this boxing thing.
Marlon Brando. That was Al Pacino. That was Robert De Niro. And this year, the actor that everyone will be talking about is Sylvester Stallone. Who the fuck is Sylvester Stallone?
That's his, like, the tenacity of where he was like, I know if I don't, like, sell this script and like make me star in it, like I'll regret if I don't try, because I could have just sold out, but it's like I know I wouldn't be able to. I love that kind of, I don't know. I like that kind of drive.
What is healthier? To live under the illusion and still have a little glimmer of hope that you could have been great, or actually have an opportunity to be great and then you blow it and you realize you're a failure?
I've heard a lot of these stories before too, like you have, but it's just nice to go through it goes through his whole career from the start, and you know, it goes on little touch points of all the franchises he was in.
Yeah, the Rocky one was when he knocks down Apollo in the first round, which I think is one of the greatest moments in cinema history. I really do.
But when he knocks him on his back in the first round, that kind of excitement, it was almost unheard of.
Followed immediately by almost a scene or two later where they're in the 14th round and he won't stay down. There's just something about the way the music and the performance moments and the cuts, and you can tell they shot it fast. Like it looks like it was a little bit of an accident. But it just came together in one of the most beautiful sequences in cinema history. And he knows, he's like, I showed that movie with that set of circumstances, with that character, and I never had a private moment again.
There's never going to be another private moment again. And literally a complete transformative moment in life, but forever.
And it made me kind of like revisit and reanalyze. I'm like, what a great idea that like you made us live with this character for something like 80 minutes, Rocky. This guy who, you know, was impoverished and really rough around the edges and kind of creepy in some ways, and, you know, complicated. And you set up Apollo Creed really well. Like he's this domineering, sophisticated, smart at the peak of his game. I mean, just what narrative impact to be like. And in the first moments, Rocky knocks down Apollo. Like that's the stuff stories are made out of, you know, if you can actually sell it to the audience. I remember when I bought the box set on DVD, I was with Nina when we were teenagers, and her dad's girlfriend was like, I remember seeing that in movie theaters. And I remember the audience thought it was like a real fight.
Whole theater went up. And the producers all looking, it's like, holy shit. The audience is participating like it's a real sporting event. We blurred the lines.
They were like jumping to their feet and they were like cheering as if they were at like a real boxing match, you know?
It was one of the really glorious moments of an audience reacting to the drama on screen.
It makes me wonder because they touch on how the first screening didn't go well. And that's just a fact. They remember it. They remember the first screening didn't go well, and then the premiere, it did, and everybody loved it. But it's one of those things that there's no real insight as to why. Like, why did that first screening not go well? Like, why did it not land with that particular audience sitting there?
Yeah.
And
It must have been screened to critics, and critics are...
They suck then and they suck now.
EJ has the insight I wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was screening for like early access, probably critics, and critics don't, you know, they're critics, you know, they've seen everything, and so they're not real audience members. They're usually more elite and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. The fact that they've seen everything and they're kind of like so over everything means that they're probably mostly hungry to watch subversion. They're looking for something that bucks a trend or some, you know, and Rocky is Cinderella. You know, it's pretty. In fact, the documentary talks about two decisions that were made. One was he kind of had written Rocky as more of an anti-hero, more of a complicated character. And what was it, a girlfriend or something?
He just had a friend, but it was a female. She said she was typing for him. She was typing up his script, and she said she didn't really like Rocky.
She's like, I'd really prefer to like him. Is there a way we can make him kind of nicer and maybe give him a heart?
She started crying because I hate Rocky. He's cruel. He hits people, he beats them up. I said, what if you stop short of it? Like, maybe he almost did, he could have. That's his job, but he doesn't. That'd be nice. I said, what if you had a girlfriend or something? Yeah, that's nice. So I go back. I start writing that.
Like that is what defines that entire franchise, is like you'll watch that character do anything because you know that character, that character could pick up Thor's hammer. You know, he is pure of heart. You know,
It's interesting to hear his own lack of insight at the time in that way, that it took this
Oh, yeah.
outside female voice, because then he's listening to tapes later, or maybe around that same time, of himself describing Rocky, and he keeps going, say it's a love story, say it's a love story.
That's awesome.
It's a love story.
That's so good.
And so he wrote this that he recognizes now as a love story, that he recognizes that that's why it's so poignant. But at the
It is
time,
a love story. Yep.
It's a simple character study of a man
A love story.
who should be cynical,
It's a
but
love
isn't. He's
story.
incapable of it.
Love
who
story.
accepts life.
I remember realizing that because I had seen the movie when I was a kid, and then when I got a little older and I realized how good it was, I was like, oh, it's totally a love story. Like that. It really is about those two characters finding each other.
but as a young man who's like damaged by his father, hungry for success, going against the odds, maybe not at all in the state of mind of falling in love, it's not a love story.
Yeah. But somebody pushed him back that way, and then Rambo too. Rambo as well, not Rambo. The book that they were adapting, First Blood, had it so that John Rambo went on his kind of psychotic terrorist attack on a town. Basically, he was a killing machine from Vietnam who can't turn off the killing machine part of himself. So in that way, it's this kind of indictment of soldier life. And kind of the soldiers themselves and kind of the civil society, it's very 70s in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Disenfranchisement and difficulty with reintegration.
But then they do that thing that would have been kind of so famous of like 70s movies at the time, which is like Colonel Troutman, the guy who trained him, at the end of the movie, this is how it was written, shoots him and he like dies in slow motion.
Like real Dog Day Afternoon type stuff. Like it's just everybody dies, it's sad.
Or Bonnie and Clyde,
or is it Dawn of the Dead? What's the...
Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, exactly.
Night of the Living Dead, yeah.
And it was Stallone who was like, I don't think we should do this.
I don't think it would be fair to like veterans who have to come home and remember this and watch this, and then we just like shoot them like a dog.
Right.
Because at that time, they were losing 20,000 vets to suicide a month. That I don't want to be part of that. I don't. And I'm not going to.
Instead, he does this, anybody who's seen the movie, it's one of the most famous scenes in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He basically doesn't speak for the whole movie. I think, he has a line or two. And which is really unsettling when you watch the movie. You're like, this guy just doesn't speak. Like, is he okay? Is he... Obviously not, because he's on like a kill crazy rampage. Although I also thought he played the part really nicely in that movie where like, even though he's gone crazy and he's being kind of careless with life, there's a few times like there's like a civilian that he could have killed that he doesn't kill. He has kind of just a look in his eyes. It's like, just please leave me alone.
He looks scared.
Scared. He looks more frightened than in the way like an animal is backed into a corner. And this scene, he starts very chaotically ranting, stream of consciousness, blubbering, weeping, sobbing at Colonel Troutman, suddenly remembering everything that ever happened to him. No connect. As a child, I was confused by it. I was like, why is there like no connectivity between the things he's saying? Like, it's just all coming out of him.
If I could put a couple of beats from about 20 different guys' lives, jumble them up, because Rambo hasn't spoken in years, so he's not coming out fluid. It's just this rush, this purging.
What is black headband? I took one of those magic markers and I said it found. He mailed us to Las Vegas because we're always talking about Vegas. I put them together, his fucking insides keep coming out, and nobody would help. No one helped me say, please, I want to go home. I want to go home. He keeps calling my name. I want to go home, Johnny.
He didn't talk about it in the movie, but it's such like a it like always stayed with me when Rambo like reaches for Troutman and just starts like crying into his arm, like very much like a child, and Troutman like won't give him the tenderness that he obviously needs at that moment. It's the whole thing is really well done, and then he goes to jail. And that was Stallone. And I'm like, you know what? That movie doesn't work at all if that scene's not there. Like that movie's
so
a
true.
fucking disaster if that scene's not there. I don't know what story it would be telling.
Senseless blood
Yeah.
and gore.
And
Yeah.
And then he said he got a lot of the details from like soldiers he talked to, and he like
Right.
studied them, and so he really internalized it. And I think it comes out in his performance, obviously.
See, he's not a fluke. He knows story. He knows like where he doesn't get it. He doesn't always get it right. He's in some bad movies. He's also, by the way, in some bad movies, or what's considered to be bad movies that Nina and I love. In particular, there's Oscar, which is a John Landis movie, actually. It's
Marissa Tomei's in it.
Marissa Tomei and
Tim Curry.
Harry Shearer. Tim Curry. There's a hilarious Tim Curry performance in it.
Let's get out of this madhouse.
Whatever you say, baby.
Baby.
Of course, in Rocky Balboa, they talked about it ain't about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit.
You see that he's talking from love. He loves this kid. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
They didn't talk about Creed at all.
They really paid a lot of respect to Rocky V, which I was sort of surprised. I think he's come around on it, and I know you've come around on it.
Yeah.
Like when it's not the last Rocky film,
Right.
you're like, I think it has its place.
Yeah, it's like a B- episode of a really good TV series, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's what he says. He's like, oh, I love sequels because like there's a lot more story you could tell, and it's easier than just starting from scratch. I love it. I love his like. Yeah, it's just the optimism he always has. Like in Rambo, he's like, oh, I changed it so like the CGI people had to make the chair rocking because I didn't really want to see that he's like finally dead. You know, it's
I so believe that we don't see our heroes die before our eyes, that there's always some mystical quality about them.
yeah. I remember when Rocky Balboa was going to come out. There was this idea in our heads of like, what if he kills Rocky? And I was like, oh, please don't. Like, you don't need to bring, this is fiction we're talking about here. You don't need to bring every character from like cradle to grave. Like we don't need this is not Boyhood, like we don't need to experience things in real time like that. Don't kill a hero. There's no good reason to, especially that story, which is all like, he says it at the end of the movie. He's like, I'm in the hope business. And it's like, yeah, that's it.
I hate a sad ending.
I want to somehow show hope. I'm in the hope business, and I just hate sad endings. Sorry.
And it's like with every role, he was like rewriting, like even if he wasn't writing, he was rewriting his lines. Like I want to make like I'm always a thug, and I want to make myself more likable and more natural. And yeah, all of his instincts are so good.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of a kind. When he goes, man, that's going to be a sad day in Hollywood, I think.
Oh yeah.
How about when he said John Avildsen, who directed the first movie, he also directed Karate Kid, Lean on Me? Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman. Avildsen was set to direct Rocky 2, and he didn't like that Stallone wanted to take it to a place where Rocky wins the championship, in effect. Like, he wanted, like, oh, Rocky fucking loses it all, and everything's terrible and
he
dark.
gets shot.
In slow motion.
This is the 70s, baby.
John Avildsen wanted to go off Rocky. He goes to Playboy Mansion. He gets drunk. He starts using drugs. In other words, the downside of success. This is not that guy.
It seems as though every time Stallone said, no, why don't we do something that's kind of happy and nice? Why don't we do something that like kind of brings people up instead of down? It made him that much more immortal every time. First Blood. The only thing I would like to see, I thought he had now 2 opportunities with Rambo 4 and Rambo 5 to bring it back to the First Blood roots. Cause I think First Blood is a really, really special movie. And I don't think Rambo 4 and Rambo 5 really get there. Rambo 5 in particular was like, it's an interesting movie, I suppose, but it's like, why are we just doing Taken with Rambo? I don't get it. So I definitely recommend it for anybody who just loves this dude.
If anybody wants to watch someone who got kicked out of 13 schools and still went to college,
yeah,
like, how did he do that? You got to be Sylvester Stallone.
We've gone a few weeks failing to talk about Burt Young, who played Paulie, died a few weeks ago.
All right.
One of the things that makes Rocky is the cast, and Carl Weathers is Apollo Creed, very special. Talia Shire as Adrian, I think, is wonderful. When they were showing clips of her, like in Rocky 3, when she's like, "What's the truth? Damn it!" It's a great scene. Or
we got everything but the truth. What's the truth? Damn it!
I'm afraid. All right.
Or in Rocky 5, this movie I'm meant to hate. When she's like, if you want to pass something on, pass it on to your son. For God's sakes, your son is lost. I was like, oh my God, the performance is so strong.
If there's something you want to pass it on to your son. For God's sakes, your son is lost.
But anyway, she's wonderful. Burgess Meredith is immortal as Mickey. And Burt Young, I think, is like, this character is, did they really manage to present to us a character who, as far as I can tell, beats his sister, or has at least beaten his sister before?
They have some awful relationship.
Hey, what? Feed these goddamn squirrels! You wanna hit on me? Come on! I'll break both your arms so they don't work for you.
Hey, my sister giving you a hard time? She is, you break her teeth.
I appreciate the advice, boy, but I kind of like her teeth, where they are.
Fucking loser! I don't get married because of you!
Maybe one of them raised the other when the parents were out of the... I don't know. I've always wondered about the Panino kids.
I cook for you, I clean for you, I pick up your dirty clothes! I take care of you, Paulie! I don't know you nothing!
They're somehow codependent in a way that they have to move him in eventually and give him a robot.
It's a sex robot.
See you, sport.
Paulie, who taught her to talk like that?
She loves me.
They somehow take this verbally, certainly verbally, and probably physically abusive alcoholic
who desires to break thumbs for a living.
Yeah.
Like his goal in life is to become a collector.
I make a great collector. Busting bones don't bother me.
Don't bother you.
One of the most fascinating things in Rocky 1 is he kind of passes over it. He seems to feel as though in the case of Paulie, the best thing to do is sort of just expect the best from Paulie. When Paulie is acting out, when he's acting crazy, stop him, but don't dwell on it. Don't make him live in regret and sadness and, making him feel like he can't be redeemed. Like he kind of always just keeps expecting the best from him, and the character improves. It's by Rocky 3, he's envious and says, "You never gave me any money," and he strikes at Rocky. He starts throwing fists at him, and Rocky just dodges it until he gets too tired, and then he's like, "All right, do you want a job? Do you want a robot? Do you want a robot?"
Robot.
Get on the job.
All you had to do was ask.
By the time we get to Rocky 4, he's like, I think it's probably the best Paulie moment where they're going out to the ring and he's like,
Right.
if I just unzip myself and be somebody else, I want to be you, Rock.
But if I could just unzip myself and step out and be someone else, I want to be you. You're all hot, Rock.
One of the most memorable performances ever, and including in Rocky Balboa, where he's also really heartbreaking.
I treated her bad. I don't have to think about this.
She always loved you, Paulie.
The two of them, Rocky and Paulie, are living in this kind of sad loop, but it's also a really familial, relatable, brilliant concept. So yeah, R.I.P. to him. To be honest, I don't know him from I don't know any of his other roles. Maybe I should go on like a deep Burt Young spree or something. Chinatown? He was in Chinatown. I guess I should have known that.
What kind of film student are you?
Yeah, really.
What's the cajones?
Cajones is Latin for Spanish nuts.
Yo, Rock, tell all the kids what you got in the bag for them that you brought from the north.
I got my laundry.
No, you got the wrong bag.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.